Hey everyone, and welcome back to House of M. This is the third and final part of our little series here on this comic book. And where we left off last time was with Emma and let's wait for it to get in focus. Come on, focus up. There we go. So Emma, Emily, and Cloak found Xavier's tomb, except for when Cloak went into the ground, there was no coffin, there was no body, there was no nothing. So they decided that they can't give up hope. Cut to the Avengers, Avengers, X-Men, everyone, fighting here at the House of M Gala. And Storm goes down and says, "What is going on? Who are you people?" And Wolverine says, "Believe it or not, Aurora, we're your family, so go easy on us, please." And Rogue has absorbed Namor's powers, and she's going absolutely ballistic and just tearing shit up. Look at that. And then Pietro goes to check on Wanda, and Wanda is like disintegrating. She's turning into cubes. And Pietro's like, "What have you done to my sister?" He's furious, so he goes running after Rogue, only to get completely denied, completely ratioed. Look at that. You can't touch Rogue right now. She just absorbed Namor's powers. Like, it's not going to happen. She just easily knocks him into a wall. And while this is going on, Doctor Strange goes off on his mission, and he phases through a wall. And behind that wall is actually Wanda. And she greets him, and she's playing with her children. And they have a bit of a cordial sort of, "Hey, how are you doing? It's nice to see you." "Well, it's great to see you too, Doctor. I've missed our talks." And she's playing with her kids, and Doctor Strange asks, "You mind if I play too?" And she's like, "No, the more the merrier." And Doctor Strange says, "So do you remember me?" And Wanda says, "Remember you? Of course I remember you. You were at the birth of my children." And she says, "What brings you here? What brings you to Genosha?" And Doctor Strange says, "Well, you brought us here, Wanda. You created Layla." I called her Emily before, sorry. "You created young Layla Miller to bring us here." And she says, "I did? I don't know who that is." Now, this is an interesting revelation because it's not quite explained how Doctor Strange comes to this conclusion, and it's never really confirmed that it's true. And I don't understand why Scarlet Witch, why Wanda would create a person that would be able to unravel her entire world and expose the truth and lead everyone back to Genosha. I don't know. Was it a failsafe? Did she want to get caught? These are not answered in this comic, unfortunately. And Doctor Strange says, "Well, you've created a lot lately, so you probably forgot." And he goes on to say, "Did you create your father too? Because it was kind of sus how he just suddenly was alive again after what happened to him." And I guess this is referencing an older comic where Magneto must have died, and now all of a sudden he's alive again. And Wanda's kid is kind of getting upset, like, "Hey, you're talking too much. No talking. It's playtime, And Doctor Strange apologizes. and says, unfortunately, there's no time for play because he's concerned about their safety, and tells Wanda, everyone's fighting over you. All our friends are hurting each other. And Wanda looks through the wall and sees Genosha in chaos, sees the fight that's erupted at the gala. And she says no one should be fighting. She just tried to make people happy. That's all she wanted to do. And Doctor Strange asks, where's Xavier? But she doesn't really respond. She just keeps saying, he wanted us to be happy. And Strange asks, is that what Magneto said? And then Wanda says, it's more complicated than that. You have to understand he was trying to save me. And all of a sudden here, Doctor Strange sees what happened. And we revisit sort of the beginning of the comic book where Pietro is saying they're going to kill her, where he's talking to Magneto. And he's saying they're going to kill her. Everyone's meeting now to kill her. And Magneto says, maybe they're right. Maybe they should. What would you have me do? All that stuff that we saw in the first issue of the comic. And so, Pietro says they have to do something. Magneto doesn't want to do something. He thinks that there's really no solution other than to let Wanda die. And Pietro's devastated. But then we hear a voice. You shouldn't yell at him like that, Pietro. And it's Wanda. She's woken up. And they talk. And Pietro asks, did you hear? And she says, yes, my friends are coming. And she says, don't be mad at me, but when they do come, I'm not going to fight them back. So she's kind of accepted it. And she's heartbroken because she knows what she did. She killed Hawkeye. She killed Vision, the love of her life. She killed Ant-Man. She can't control her powers and she knows it. And she asks, is she a coward for not wanting to kill herself, even though she knows that she should? And then she says it'll all be over soon. And, Pietro's crying, and it's really like a sad sort of scene. And they talk about how they never had a chance and how their father treated them and being caught up in all that war between mutants and humanity. And, Pietro says, we were supposed to be a family. We were supposed to be heroes. I liked being an Avenger. I liked it more than I could ever admit. And Wanda says I would do anything to take it back, what she did, killing those 3 Avengers. And Pietro says, you could. He says you could take it all back. You could bring everyone back to life. If you joined powers with Xavier, you could create a world where we have everything we ever wanted and we could be together forever and Father could be happy. And there would be no war. And all our friends would be alive and they would all have everything that they want. He says, why would you be given these powers if not to use them for this purpose? To fix everything, to make everything perfect. And if you don't do it, they'll kill you. And we'll never be together again. And that's when Doctor Strange has the revelation. I mean, he knows it wasn't Magneto. It was Pietro. So Doctor Strange says, Emma, are you listening? He kind of contacts her telepathically. And she says, ask her about Xavier. We need to find Xavier. And he asks her again, Wanda, where's Charles? And she kind of passes out or gets hurt or something happens here. And then we see there's an arrow in her back. And her child is going, Mommy, her make-believe child. And that's when we cut to Magneto. And he's caught up with Emma Frost and Lila. And he says, why are you bothering my family? Who are you? What are you doing here? And Lila does her little trick. And she wakes Magneto up. Cut to Hawkeye. And he shot Wanda in the back. And Wanda says, Clint Barton, why did you do that to me? And Hawkeye loses it. Why? You're asking me why? She says, are you mad at me? And he says, you mean mad at you for killing me? We were friends, Wanda, teammates. I truly loved you. I'd kill for you. And he's crying. And she says, I love you too. And he says, well, why did you do this? Why did you do this? And she says, well, I brought you back. And he says, you don't know what you've done. And Hawkeye here is just devastated. And then Wanda's ugly kid just yells, shut up. And he destroys Hawkeye. Hawkeye is disintegrated because Hawkeye was never real. And by the way, when this happened to Wanda earlier, obviously that was just a projection of her body, which that's what tells me that this Hawkeye was, just a projection all along. The real Hawkeye's dead, but it's weird that, his consciousness really is that of Clint. It's kind of complicated concept to wrap your head around. Anyway. So Doctor Strange, he keeps trying to get through to Wanda. Like, you have to listen to me, Wanda. But she's breaking down now. She's like, I didn't mean to do that. He was mad at me. I needed to protect my kids. I can't control it, she says. I can't control any of it. And meanwhile, Pietro has absolutely lost it. And he is beating the shit out of everyone. Just speeding from one opponent to the next, slapping them silly. But then a voice, this ends. And it's Magneto, and he is not happy at all. And he starts screaming at Pietro, what have you done in my name, boy? And Pietro yells, you were going to let them kill her. You used her, and you used me. I would never have allowed this, says Magneto. You've destroyed everything and everyone. And Magneto just tears this metal apart. It looks like it might have been part of the Sentinel before, and just throws it at Pietro. You used my name to do it. What right? What right? And he just demolishes him. And Wanda knows something bad's happened. She senses it. Brother. And she makes her way there. And Magneto's rage is not finished. Wanda, you shall, but she just makes his mouth disappear. Familiar, right? Kind of like Multiverse of Madness. A lot of concepts in Multiverse of Madness taken straight from this comic book. And Pietro's dead. Magneto has killed his own son. And Wanda is just standing over his body. She can't feel his life anymore. Meanwhile, Doctor Strange and Emma are speaking to one another telepathically. and they're talking about what to do. She's unstable. We don't know what she's going to do. We can't control this. And while Magneto is up there unable to speak, Wanda just kind of has a meltdown. You know, she says, he wanted you to be happy. Look what you've done to us, Daddy. Pietro was right. You ruined us before we had a chance. Why would you treat your own children this way? Babies. Because you actually think you're better than everyone else. The arrogance of you. You think because we're mutants, we're better than them, that we deserve to rule. That's what you wanted, and I gave it to you. But look at what it becomes. Even when you get what you want, you're still this horrible man. We're not the next step. We're not gods. We're freaks. Look at us. We're mutants. You chose this over us, and you ruined us. Daddy? And Emma goes, oh no. No more mutants. And just the world just fucking, like the world just seems like it implodes. I don't know how you would describe this. Everyone's in shock. And everything turns white. Like it did in the beginning, like it did when Wanda first manipulated everything. And that's the end of this issue. And now we go to the epilogue, the conclusion of everything. And the world seems empty. It seems very different. And there's Layla. And her mom's telling her to get up because she's going to be late for school. Just living a normal life. Spider-Man wakes up, Peter Parker, and this time he wakes up next to MJ. And she's just like, you know, are you okay? Try not getting hit on the head by a big mechanical octopus arm so much. There's something wrong with Peter, though. You can tell by his eyes. So he walks off, and later on, they meet up in Avengers Tower. And Peter's like, okay, what the hell was that? 1 minute ago, we're fighting in Genosha. Everything, just about everything and everyone. And next, I'm tucked in my bed. Actually, She-Hulk says that. And Luke Cage asks, was it the same for everyone? And Falcon is like, I'm a little confused. I was just here, and then Peter Parker says, do you remember? And Luke says, yeah, are you okay? MJ, is she okay? And he says, MJ doesn't remember. And Sentry says, remember what? And Spider-Woman, who I guess was that chick that I couldn't recognize in the other, in part 1 and part 2, who was part of the S.H.I.E.L.D. Special Forces team that Wolverine was on. I guess that's who that was, Spider-Woman. She says, does anyone else feel like screaming? And so as you can tell, some people remember what happened, some people don't. Tony walks in and he doesn't remember anything. Spider-Man remembers everything, and Spider-Man kind of freaks out. Spider-Man has really been through it, and he just slams the desk. And he slams it again and again. He's just, he's having a nervous breakdown. You could imagine after everything he's been through. And, well, Miss Marvel says, well, at least everything's back to normal, right? Everything seems okay. And Doctor Strange walks in all beaten up, and he says, well, it's not quite. And then we cut to the X mansion, and Emma Frost just wakes up on the field, and she hears cries for help, and she runs into the school. And the children have lost their powers and they don't know what's going on. Some of the X-Men still have their powers, though. Cyclops and Colossus seem to be fine, so does Nightcrawler and Emma and Kitty Pryde. But a lot of the students have completely lost their powers. And then they think to themselves, wait a minute, if Wolverine lost his powers, the adamantium inside him would kill him. So Nightcrawler goes teleporting around the whole school to try to find him, and he finally does. And when he finds him, Wolverine seems to be fine, and he says, I remember my whole life. I remember all of it. So Emma Frost goes into Cerebro, and she puts on the helmet, and she's going to locate the mutants in the world and see what's happening. And when she does this, that's all she sees. Just a few dots. I don't know if they say the exact number. There used to be tens of thousands, if not millions. And now it just looks like there's a handful, if that. And we still have no idea where Xavier is. And Emma says, Xavier would know what this is, he would know what to do, but they have no clue where he is. And just as they're talking, Bobby, Iceman, walks in, and he seems really hot. He's sweating. He's lost his powers. Speaking of sweating, I'm sweating too. Holy cow. It's really hot here in Greece. It's like 35 degrees, and I don't have air conditioning. Lord have mercy. So we cut to the news here. Just wait, and apparently the mutants around the world they haven't died, they haven't been wiped out, but they've all lost their powers. And the government makes an announcement saying, we feel horrible about this. We just want to clarify that this is not something that was committed by the U.S. government. We have not attacked mutants. We have nothing to do with this, and we will work hard to try to, investigate this and see what happened. And you can see here the Avengers are all back. Captain America's back. And they're seeing this on the news, and there's religious freaks on TV talking about how this was meant to happen and it's God's hand, and it just kind of depresses everyone. Meanwhile, Wanda's gone missing, and, Captain America is like, Doctor Strange, can you find her? He's come to the conclusion that only the people who were protected by Emma during the event on Genosha were able to maintain their mutant powers and also remember what happened. And he kind of has, at the same time, a bit of a mental breakdown, because he was like, he says, my duties as master of the mystic arts are simple: protect this world from an attack just like this, and I failed completely. So he blames himself. And Spider-Man's like, Doctor, could you use some of that magic and just give me a mind sweep, just erase my memory? And he says it doesn't really work like that. And Peter kind of freaks out. He slams the table and screams. He wants to forget everything that's happened. He's extremely traumatized. Captain America holds him back, though, and, he apologizes and walks off. And Tony says there's someone at the mansion. So everyone goes there. And they walk into a room, and there's Hawkeye's suit pinned up against the wall with arrows, along with a newspaper cutting saying Hawkeye dead. And Carol is, Miss Marvel. She's like, what does this mean? And then we cut to Magneto just walking through the ruins of Genosha, just alone. He tries to move a fork, and he can't do it. He's lost his powers. He wasn't protected when this happened. And the X-Men catch up with him. And Wolverine kind of beats the crap out of him. Well, not really. He just slams his head down and takes out his claws, and they're asking him where Professor X is. They're asking him where Wanda is, and he doesn't know. And Emma says he's telling the truth. He doesn't know anything. And Wolverine just says, fine, just leave him here to enjoy the rest of his sapient life without powers. And we cut to Wanda in a marketplace. Little Red Riding Hood. Just walking around the market. Happy, carefree. It looks like she's somewhere in the Balkans. Maybe Albania. And that's pretty much it. It kind of ends with Hank Pym being interviewed on television and saying, things don't just disappear. Every action has a reaction. So if all the mutant powers in the world are gone, where do they go? And what will the reaction to that be? And you kind of see here the world, and then you see this massive explosion or whatever that is. It looks like a release of energy of some kind. It doesn't look quite like an explosion. And that's it. That's the end. And, this storyline continues. I don't have the continuation, but I will get it at some point. But that's the entire House of M. So Wanda goes from creating a mutant utopia to no more mutants. And as I told you in the first video, a lot of the ideas from Multiverse of Madness, the MCU movie with Doctor Strange and Scarlet Witch, come directly from here. It's a great comic book. It's very, very dark, very emotional, but also has extremely cool, action set pieces, and I guess you could say Wolverine is the protagonist for the most part. And that's it. Another thumbs up. I think this is a great series. Let me see here. What's the price? Yeah, that's about $24 American, which is pretty good. Pretty good considering, how big this is. I mean, it took us, an hour and a half pretty much to get through the entire thing, right? It's quite a few pages. I don't think the pages are numbered, so I can't give you the exact amount, but it's got to be around 200, 300 something. Anyways, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time for a brand new series. We'll see what it's going to be. All right, take care. Bye-bye.